Alright, making sure. I was reading the thing that said whenever I push go live, because I don't think it's saving, but that's not your problem. Anyway, welcome to Crossroads Disc Golf, where disc golf meets discipleship. So tonight I am dyeing these two Craves that I got from a fellow, I believe he's from Alabama. He does his own like custom stamps, and I thought they were really cool. And I used to bag Craves all the time before I was sponsored by Lone Star, and I'm no longer sponsored by anybody, so I can throw whatever I want. So I was like, I'm gonna get me a couple Craves, and they're white, so I was like, I can dye them. So just I've already done a little bit of prep on these. All I really did was just mask the what do you call that, the overmold, the gyro thing. So this one was it's just a red uh, gyro overmold, whatever border on this one, and I've just masked it with vinyl. Um, Basically, I just took my Cricut and I cut a circle basically within like a less than a 16th. It was like 7 5/8 diameter circle. I just measured it and see what it was from border to border, and then I just lined it up as close as I could to that edge, just so I could do nothing but just mask that border because I don't want to dye the border. I want to dye just the white part. The other thing that I did, this is just some general. Okay, by the way, this is the other one. This one has a purple rim on it. He said that this one is called Nothing But the Blood because it's just nothing but red. So the stamp's all red. This one, on the other hand, has all sorts of colors in it. It's really pretty. They're both really pretty. But anyway, um, when I mask these things with that circle, just kind of just a general tip. The vinyl sheets, when you get them, they're flat, right? And you're wrapping them around a circular surface. So when you wrap them, they're going to want to kind of like return to flat on the edge. So that means they're going to have little, uh, I don't know what you call that, little wrinkles and folds will kind of work their way up or whatever. And if you leave it that way, then you're going to have bleeds. It's not gonna be protected. So what I do, kind of just think about it this way. They use this same vinyl to wrap cars with. Okay, so cars got a lot more curves than these discs do. So really all you gotta do is just heat it up and then it'll naturally kind of conform to the shape of it. I just use a hair dryer, just a regular hair dryer here. I use that, go around the edges, use my handy dandy like little scraper tool thing, and I just use that back side of it and just kind of smooth it down against it, smooth out all the wrinkles, and make sure there's no spots where it could bleed through. Alright, so that's the first part of the prep, and the other part of the prep I'm going to do is I'm going to do a quick little glue mask on the inside of these crosses and on the inside of the nails, because I don't want that part to die. And since I'm only masking just that one little part, it shouldn't take too long to dry. I'm also going to throw it in the dehydrator to speed up that drying process. So the dehydrator will be drying the glue mask while we're putting the two dye beds together. So I decided I'm going to do my Floetrol blossom bed that I always do, and then we're just going to do like the old school shaving cream bed. And I think kind of debating on whether or not want to do just like kind of a fun confetti random bed or if I want to do like the spiral bed. The only real difference between the two is the confetti one I'll just kind of randomly put color down and just smush it into the shaving cream. The spiral one I'll make like kind of like a pie shape thing and then I'll put it on my turntable, get it spinning, and then just push it in there while it's spinning, and that'll make it spiral basically. Does that make sense? We'll get into it and it'll maybe make more sense once I do it. First things first though, I'm gonna glue mask these things. Okay, some handy dandy toothpicks here. Sarah's sitting over here watching me. She's just chilling out, having a good old time. She said howdy. Alright, this is not really exciting, but you're gonna get to watch it because I'm doing it. I'm just basically gonna cover these areas I don't want to get dye on with glue. And so if you're learning how to disc dye, if you're interested in this kind of stuff and you're wondering like what kind of glue to use, dude, I just use Elmer's glue, just regular old white Elmer's glue. You can use wood glue. A lot of people say that that works better. I've never really experimented with it because I've never really had any problem with Elmer's glue. There are certain mediums that do kind of bleed through at times. One of those mediums is shaving cream. And because of that, I am not going to glue mask this one. I'm just going to let the shaving cream do what it does and it's going to die everywhere because I've had too many issues with shaving cream bleeding through glue masks. I don't know what it is about shaving cream. It's just there's something in it that I don't know. It's not like I'm not using acetone or anything like that either, so I don't know what it is that kind of breaks down the glue, but it does. Maybe it's just too much moisture. But I use like the Floetrol beds, and they seem like they have a lot of moisture too. I don't know. Never had that issue though with anything but shaving cream. Alright, this is not real complicated here. I'm just putting some glue on it, and then I'm gonna kind of use a toothpick to kind of work it to the edges and do one cross at a time here. And when you're doing this, the stamp itself doesn't really need to be masked. The stamp, unless you're doing something that has some kind of acetone in it, the stamp's not going to get damaged or anything. Um, some stamps, depending on what they're made out of, might receive a little bit of color. So if you're worried about that, by all means, mask the stamp too. But I've never really had too much problem with that, so I'm not going to worry too much about it now. I say that, and I'm kind of covering up the gold part, but I'm not going to mask the other gold part, so if it does get discolored, I don't know. I guess I'll have to just buy more discs from Saved by Faith. He'll be happy about that, I'm sure. He does some really, I think he's going to do more custom stamps. Like this is just one of the ones he has, and I think he's going to order more. I think he does like different designs and stuff. Um, on my Instagram post that I posted, I tagged him. So if anybody's watching this, that is, if you guys want to go check out his Instagram page, I'm sure he's got some of his cool stamps on there. And as far as me, like, I saw that he had, these these stamps and stuff that are, showcasing his faith. And for me, I'm all about that. Like, if I can do anything to help somebody else out that's, you know, celebrating the gospel, celebrating Jesus, I want to help them out. That is basically the purpose of me kind of rebranding this thing. And I say rebranding, I'm not really a company. I'm not selling anything, you guys. I'm just doing disc golf things and talking about Jesus. That's just what I do. I started doing like a sharing daily Bible verses and stuff. The first one I did was just like, if you guys ever use the Bible app, which is probably like the most popular Bible app, is called YouVersion. If you use that every day, it gives you a daily Bible verse. And that first day, I did just use their daily Bible verse. But after the first day, I was like, well, I don't always want to share what they want to share. There is, you know, God often puts something on my heart to share, and it's not always, you know, what they want me to share. So I often just kind of go find my own verse and say, well, this is what I want to share today. I'm trying to get through this part as quickly as possible because I know this is not very exciting and there's not much to learn here watching me do this. And again, that's also why I did the prep work on putting the vinyl on there before I started this. The other prep work I did, I can't forget to talk about that because that's Dye Basic 101. Never try to dye a disc without washing it first. Um, when disc manufacturers make these things, when they put them in the molds, and in case you don't know how they're made, most of these are made, I say most because pretty much everything I know of, all your major brands, the only thing I think might not be the traditional injection molding method is some of your just different kind of plastic stuff, like maybe Vibram. Even them, I think they're still made by injection molding. It's just a very different. They basically they're not even plastic. They're rubber discs essentially. But I still think they do it with injection molding. Anyway, when injection molding is done, you've got basically two metal plates that are screwed together, and the mold itself is like this hollow area in between the two plates, and that's the shape of the disc, right? So they inject that with hot plastic, molten plastic. So before they even do that, they spray the inside of that plate with this basically like plastic release stuff, that so that basically the molten plastic doesn't stick to the metal mold. So when you get a brand new disc, that film, that dye release there, that plastic release stuff will often be on the plastic. And what that means is it's got an invisible film of stuff on there that you can't really see, but it's going to keep it from the dye from coming in contact with the surface of it. Doesn't really mess with their hot stamps, so they don't really have to clean it up for the hot stamps, because that burns right through it. It burns into the plastic a little bit, right? But if you're going to dye the disc, you need to wash that stuff off. The easiest way to do it for me, I just use a Mr. Clean magic eraser. Just scrub it a little bit. I always say don't scrub it too hard, because I've never had this experience, but people say that sometimes the Mr. Clean magic eraser things can remove the stamp. Never had that issue occur, but people say it can, so just be careful. Don't scrub it like you're trying to, I don't know. I don't know what analogy I'm going for there. Just don't scrub it too hard, okay? All right. So anyway, today, it's Sunday today, so normally I'm at church in the evening. We do a morning and evening service at our church in Springtown. It's New Beginnings Church in Springtown, Texas. If you're in the area, come see us. Um, but today is the fifth Sunday of the month, and on fifth Sundays we do stuff a little bit different. We do like a potluck type lunch thing after service, and we just have a lot of fellowship and just hanging out and everything. And then we just don't have an evening service on just the fifth Sunday of a month, if a month has 5 Sundays, that is. So it's a special occasion. It doesn't happen all that often. So um, just a heads up, if you guys are ever glue masking like this, just be careful on where you're resting your the side of your palm, your wrist, whatever. Don't put it into the glue that you've already masked and everything. Don't mess up what you've already finished. It's easy to do. I've done it before. I said this part's not all that exciting, but I needed to do it, so hang with me here. And again, I tried to do a lot of this prep work before I got started, but it's been a busy day. Went to church this morning, like I said, did some yard work, tree trimming. I have tons of trees on my property. It's a never-ending, ongoing process, so good times were had by all. It's Sarah's favorite thing to do. She just gave me a look like, sure, whatever you say. And every time we do yard work, I've got like several baskets set up in my backyard, and every time we do a little yard work, we throw a few discs. And I made like 2 long-range shots, and I think she got a little jealous, so she stayed out there for a while trying to make one too. She wasn't jealous. That's what she said. She just wants to do it too. It's not a jealousy thing. I really don't think it is either. She's been trying to do it. She gets really close. She's hit the rim several times, and she's like, "Argh!" Yeah. So she threw a disc over the fence instead. But that's okay. I'll find it eventually. So when I'm glue masking these little areas, I'm trying to cover up like the gold and silver nicer uh, uh, stamp material. It's foil basically. Um, But the black, eh. That black ain't gonna take any color or anything, so I'm not really worried about it. Alright, that one, all the glue is on there. So I'm gonna do with this one, I'm gonna throw it in the dehydrator and it's gonna be kind of running while we're prepping everything else. I think I usually do it at about 105 degrees and I'll just set it for like an hour and it'll just run. I'm not saying we're gonna be here for an hour, but I don't know. If you're curious, my dehydrator is a brand name Kosori. Um, if you're getting into dyeing and you want to get a dehydrator, there's a couple different things I use it for. Um, Obviously, like what I'm doing now is just you got a glue mask and you want it to dry quickly. Throw it in the dehydrator. It's gonna dry it out twice as fast as it normally would, basically. Um, Another thing it's good for is when you get a disc all into a bed and everything and ready to start, you could throw it in the dehydrator and just speed up the process instead of letting it sit overnight. Sometimes you can run it through the dehydrator for like, I don't know, an hour, let it sit. Usually what I'll do is I'll kind of do like 30 minutes or an hour in the dehydrator, let it sit for like 30 minutes or an hour, and then do another like 30 minutes or an hour. Kind of depends on the medium on how long I do it. Floetrol and glue beds actually go pretty fast in the dehydrator. They don't really take a lot of time. If you're doing the dehydrator, if you're just going to let them set, just let them sit for like 24 hours. It's the best thing you can do. Um, it just takes time for things the dye to soak into the plastic. But heat speeds up the process. Just how it works. On the flip side of that, cold slows the process down or completely stops it. Uh, you could use that to your advantage at times. If you live in the up north and it's like wintertime or something, don't like leave your disc outside to like to try to absorb in a dye bed. It's not gonna work. It's just a bad idea. Um, if you want to remove a stamp, it's one of my tricks. Is I do basically I put the disc in the freezer for like 5 minutes, and then pull it out. Get you some acetone on a cotton ball and just start wiping it off. The reason I do that is when you remove the material, sometimes that color will bleed into the plastic, especially if it's a really colorful, like especially reds. Reds are really bad, but any kind of stamp that you're going to wipe off that's got a lot of color, it could bleed into the color into the plastic, and then you get coloration and stuff that you weren't intending to get. However, if you freeze it first, if it's completely frozen, it can't absorb color. It can't absorb dye. That plastic can't do it while it's in a like freezing temperature. So you got to work kind of fast. Like as soon as you take it out of the freezer, just start doing it right away, basically. But it's a good little tip. Um, Dyes fade over time. When you first do them, they look amazing. In a couple years, they're just not as clean and crisp anymore. If you want a dye to last forever, keep it in the freezer. It'll last forever. I'll show you one real quick if I can get to it. Let's see if I can get to this without killing myself here, falling off of this thing. So I dyed this, I don't know, probably 2 or 3 years ago now. And so on the back side, I got like a Texas flag and this thing that says armadillo. Yeah, it says an armadillo. And on the front side, it says like, hand me my armadillo. Okay. I did the front and the back, and if you look at it now, you can kind of see like the colors on the back are bleeding through to the front, and vice versa. Just happens over time. If I would have, this was back in my day that I didn't realize that they did that, and I never dye front side and back side anymore, except for maybe just a spin around the rim, because that's not as big a deal. Or I might do the clear UV because it's hidden until you hit it with a black light. Um, Another cool thing about this one is the year that I had it, I got all the Lone Star Disc Pro players, pro team members to sign it. Emerson Keith and Lisa Fickus, Whole bunch of people on here. Robert Burridge, Nicola Castro, bunch of people. It was fun. It was a good year. I got to meet a lot of cool players. All right, put that back up there in a second. We'll get back to dying discs now. Sorry. Okay, so I guess we'll go ahead and do the shaving cream prep first, since I'm waiting for that other disc to dry out. Um, for the glue mask to dry before I can actually put it in a dye bed. So I'll get that one ready last. That's the one I'm going to do the Floetrol Blossom thing. If you don't know this about me, before we were Crossroads Disc Golf, before I decided to rebrand, and like I said, it's not really a brand, it's just I'm just sharing the gospel, dying discs, playing disc golf, living life, right? Just wanted to, I don't know, just share my journey through life and all that good stuff. Biggest thing is that share the gospel. Um, but before that, before when I was doing this professionally, I was Ninja Disc Golf, right? We had a working website where we sold discs and did custom dies and all that kind of stuff, right? Um, However, during that time, or I guess what I was trying to say is during that time, I was on a podcast called Dying to Listen. He just kind of interviews different dyers and stuff. I did different like charity events, did disc dyes for charity and stuff. I did I don't know, I guess how you call it, like I was a judge on some dyeing competitions, and I was also featured on one of my favorite YouTube resources to learn disc dyeing. It's called The Difference Is Doing It. The guy that runs it, his name's Bobby. Forget his last name. I know it, but I can't think of it right now. But Bobby with The Difference Is Doing It has a part of his show he calls Other Basement Disc Dyers, right? And he features different artists that do some kind of like unique custom thing that's kind of unique to them. It's their own signature style. So the Floetrol Blossoms is what I did for Other Basement Disc Dyers. So um, I'll link it maybe in the description of this one, so you guys, if you want to go watch it, you can go watch my how-to on how to do Floetrol Blossoms. Of course, we're gonna do one tonight, so this will probably actually be way more in depth than that video because I'm gonna sit here and do all of it with you guys. Again, this is a little bit different though. This is less of a how-to video, and this is more of a you're watching everything I'm doing type video. But anyway, right now I'm just going to do a shaving cream one, and the first thing you want to do with shaving cream is basically just make a mound of shaving cream. Um, you know what? I need to do this on the regular turntable, so this is just my like Lazy Susan. I'll use this one for dye beds instead of my actual turntable most of the time because if I make a mess, there's no like electronics or anything here. I don't really care if I mess it up or make a mess. That's also why I'm using like a crappy little like card table thing. You know, I don't care if I mess this thing up, which I have. I've made a lot of messes with this thing. Most of which was done before Sarah was around, so okay. Bring the actual turntable out here. Um, I might have to kind of mess with the camera a little bit while I'm doing this. Sorry. Okay. Oh, it's so weird how I'm having to like move it closer to the camera, and that moves it. It's like a mirror. Everything's backwards here. I'm like, I want to move it left, so I have to move it to the right of the screen. I got to move it to the left of me. All right, just trying to make sure you guys can see it there. Okay. Okay. Shaving cream, nothing special here. It's like Barbasol shaving cream, right? I'm gonna make one of the things that I like to do with this. Hang on. Hey, where's my handy dandy Sharpie at? Hold on one second, guys. Alright, here we go. I don't know why, but the best thing I found for centering stuff on my turntable. I'm not going to tell you how to do yours. The best thing you can do is actually buy a jig that mounts to it and centers it. There's a guy that makes these things. There's different people that make them, but there's one that I've got one that's real basic. You can buy it from the Disc Golf Dyers Guild, and it's all right. It serves its purpose. The only time I really use it, it looked like this. The only time I really use this one though is if I'm doing a die on the back side, because this is basically just a turntable where I took the little nub that holds the record, and I shaved it off, right? Shaved it to where it's flat with the mat when I put the mat on there, see? Right? So if it's the front side of a disc, it's really not of a problem because it's like rubber and it makes it stop. This isn't a good example because it's got the vinyl on it. So, but on the front side of a disc, it's easy. It just the rubber kind of holds it in place. But when you put it on the back side, especially if it's domey, it kind of wobbles and everything. So if you put that little this thing on there, centered up there, then you can let it mount on those things, and it makes it a little bit easier to do backside dies. And again, I still backside spin dies. I'll just die the backside of the rim, mainly on distance drivers, fairway drivers. If it's a mid range or a putter, it's not gonna be a big enough rim to really die like that, so don't even mess with it. I'm rambling. Sorry, guys. That's what you get when you watch me. Sorry. Sarah's like, uh huh, uh huh. I tell her stories like when I was a little kid, I never talked at all. I was like the quietest kid you ever met, and she's like, I don't believe you. Like I talk a lot now, too much probably. So I'm gonna try to center this. This is just a like a little 9-inch pie pan thing, right? I'm gonna try to center this up the best I can. It's not quite the same as a disc, but this will help the process. Pretty centered. Okay. Stop spinning now. And there's not a whole lot to this. You should fill this thing with shaving cream. Sometimes it helps to keep the can vertical. Turn the can sideways and it must have spittered and spattered and bleh. Like that. Okay, that's probably enough. Now, this is the little bit kind of tricky part. You want to kind of just form this into a cone, right? And I'm just going to kind of spin this thing and try to keep it. I'm trying not to move the pie pan, right? Because I've got it centered, right? Thing is, you're not going to get the cone perfectly centered. You can try. I'm not telling you you can't. Maybe that's not me being very optimistic. It's very doubtful that you're going to get the cone perfectly centered. Just try to get it as centered as you can, you know? And then, like I said, the trick is once you kind of get it into a cone, try to just get it as flat as surface as you can. Try to get all those little craters out of it if possible. Again, you probably won't get it perfect, and that's okay. And incidentally, I do this with, I mean, this is the best way to do it no matter what style you're doing. If you want to do the spiral thing, which is probably what I'm going to do because I like doing it, you basically have to do a mound. If you want to do the confetti thing, don't really have to make it a mound, but it still works better. This is just the best way to do shaving cream dies. Um, it's not the only way to do shaving cream dies. You can just kind of do a general, just fill a thing and fill a thing with shaving cream and just make it and level it out on top and then just smush the thing into it basically. You can do more shaving cream than what I'm going to be doing here. Um, this is actually the first method I use for dyeing discs, and if you're just getting into it, man, this is one of the easiest ways to dye discs without like spending a lot of money on it, right? Um, Another thing I like about shaving cream a lot, it's shaving cream. It's like, oh, I've made a mess. It's all over my hands. Now it's not. It still kind of is, but you just rub it in your hands. It's just shaving cream. It's not gonna hurt nobody. Okay. Sarah's like, whatever. Okay. Next part is the dye. And there's different ways you can do this. Just a heads up, some dyes work better than others for this. I am going to use bright blue. This is Pro Chemical and Dye. The color is bright blue. And I'm going to use Pro Chemical and Dye Dandelion. I at From experience, I know that these colors work pretty good for this. The thing about this is that you need colors that don't really clump together. They need to be, and I don't know, it's just trial and error. I can tell you, like right off the bat, this is not the blue that I usually use all the time. I prefer royal blue. It's just, or I think it's just called royal. That's my favorite shade of blue that they make. It's the most just like natural, pure blue, right, to me. Bright blue's pretty good. But royal blue likes to clump together, and it doesn't work good for shaving cream dyes in my experience. Dandelion probably is my favorite yellow, and most of the yellows I've used are pretty good, and most of them don't clump. When it comes to reds, almost all the reds clump. They're really bad. The only red I found that's good for this that doesn't clump together is called cherry. It's Pro Chemical and Dye cherry. Um, I can also tell you from experience if you use iDye black, iDye black is jet black. It's the blackest black dye out there. However, when you use it in shaving cream, it separates it out into like its little particles, and you'll get like all sorts of different colors. You really won't get black. You might get specks of black, but you're gonna get like some purples and browns, and it's weird. It doesn't. When you use shaving cream, you'll see what I'm talking about. It particulates in it. You get all the different nuance of the color. And if you use certain colors, like for example, this is neon key lime, okay? All the neon colors that Pro Chemical and Dye make are based on two neon colors, even though they make like 6 of them. And the two neon colors that they actually have, the base colors, are neon lemon zest, and the other one is neon cerise pink. Okay, those are the two neon. And then what makes them neon is they're UV reactive, so they react to black light. So when you get like neon key lime, this is just neon lemon zest with some other like some kind of blue mixed together to give you a green. But when you put it in this, it'll particulate. You'll get the yellow and you'll get the blue like separated. You'll get some green, but you'll get a lot of separation. Giving you guys a lot of information. Anyway, I'm gonna get to it. The orange one is really bad. The neon orange, that one is like you'll get uh I think that's literally just like the neon cerise pink and the neon lemon zest mixed together, and you'll get yellow and pink separated, and you really won't see any orange. That's a hard one to use, actually, neon hot orange. The best way to use it is just to mix it with acetone or mix it with Floetrol or lotion maybe, and just use it as a color. Don't try to use it this way. I'm trying to find what I'm looking for and not finding it. Is it up there? I don't know. I'm looking for my little teaspoon thing that I use. I'm going to need that. That is very important for the Floetrol mixing part. Is it in here? Should have had this all together before I started the stream. I'm sorry about that, guys. Oh, I see it. It's up here. I'm actually going to need all of this stuff, so I'm going to get it down now. I know you guys probably can't see what I'm doing, but it's important. Okay. She doesn't like me standing on the chair. I don't really like standing on the chair either. 1/4 teaspoon. Very important. For right now, it's not super important. I just need something to kind of pick it up and shake it onto the surface. All right. I'm going to do the blue first. No real reason. I'm just going to do the blue first. And again, it's going to turn into a spiral. And what I'm doing is kind of making pie shape. I'm going to do like blue, blue, yellow, yellow. Does that make sense? You'll see. Don't need a whole lot, man. Little goes a long way with shaving cream. Like, I cannot emphasize that enough. You only need a little bit. Be really, like, careful doing this. Just need a little bit of dye. Might be enough. When you're doing this, you see that I'm like standing up and doing it. Keep your distance from the dye. That's the best thing I can say. If that's not enough, like literally like wear a respirator or a mask or something. You don't want to breathe these particles in. The stuff is toxic. There you go. Sarah's covering her mouth now. I got way too much in that first little section. It'll be alright, it's just... See, even this yellow, you can see it clumps more than the blue does. It's not typical. Usually yellow clumps less than blues do, but in this situation, bright blue is really good about not clumping, but other blues are really bad. One side seems like a lot bigger than the other. Just kind of even this out if I can. Okay. And I'm using like a paper towel to wipe this thing off in between using it, because you don't really want to mix your colors together. Since it's dry, you're not running too much of a risk of that, but some of it kind of does stick. And that's kind of it. That's a dye bed. I know that was like extremely simple, right? Okay. So I'm gonna take this guy. I'm gonna get this thing spinning. Okay. And as it's spinning, I'm gonna try to get it as center as possible, and then just kind of, as it's spinning, just smush it down into there, and it's gonna make a spiral. That's that. Um, I've done a lot of shaving cream beds. Some people will tell you that I needed to add more moisture to that. They'll take a spray bottle and they'll spray it, and they'll say that that activates the dye. Dude, the shaving cream has enough moisture in it. It doesn't need any more. I've done this so many times. Also, shaving cream beds don't need any added heat. You can let them sit for about 4 hours. You should be good. If you use if you're using like a clear plastic, like a Champion type plastic, Champion or Lucid or something along those lines, was it with MVP? It's was it not plasma? That's not the one I'm thinking of. Proton. Any kind of clear plastic. Clear plastics take more time. So if it takes 4 hours to do a shaving cream dye on regular premium plastic, like this is neutron plastic, so if it's in Innova, it'd be like Star Plastic. Lone Star would be like Alpha Bravo. But if it's a clear plastic, double the time. Whatever time you normally do, double it. Maybe even more than double. It takes a long time for clear plastic to soak up dye. Alright, so my thing says it has 30 something minutes left, but I'm going to check on it. This one right now, I'm just going to set somewhere like out of the way because it's like I said, I'm not going to put this in the dehydrator to get heat. I'm just going to let it set for like 4 hours. Honestly, in 4 hours, it's going to be 10:45. I'm probably just going to go to sleep tonight, and then in the morning, I'll wash it off and it'll be dyed. Alright, I'm going to check on the other disc and see how the glue mask has dried or not. Looks basically dry. I'm going to go ahead and let it just continue to mellow in there and keep getting dried out more while I'm working on the prep for this other one. So, the Floetrol beds take a little bit of prep. It's definitely a thing with them. Hey Sarah, do you know where all those plastic cups are? This one? Okay. Nope. Other drawer? Okay. Oh yeah, okay. Okay. I'm going to share something with you guys real quick. Honestly, hang on a second. Let me see if I can find it on my computer and I can screen share it because it's going to be much more visible because I've got a PDF of it. And if you guys want this PDF, if you go to trying to think of where it's at. If you go to Pro Chemical and Dye, like their website, Prochemical and Dye, probably .com, I guess. I think it's also on discdyeing.com. This is basically a mixture recipe thing that tells you how to mix your dyes and how much of each thing it takes to mix together. Where do I have this? I know I do, I just don't know where. Oh, I still have a Ninja Disc Golf folder. It's gonna be in there. There it is. Alright. There you go, guys. Okay, so I saved the PDF, and like I said, this is Pro Chemical and Dye. This is their, and this works for any powdered dye basically. You can use this for the same recipes for iDye Poly, which are the two dyes that I use, and I also use Quick Coat Worm Dip. Okay, and if you bring up RIT dye, you can use RIT dye, but don't. It's the best thing I can say. You can get results with it, but it's such an inferior product. Just don't use RIT dye. I have no advice for you if you want to use RIT dye. If you come to me and ask me how it would work, I'm just going to tell you, figure it out, because I don't know what to do with it. I've had some success, but I don't like it. Anyway, so if you look here, Floetrol beds. We're going to be doing Floetrol. Okay, now I want to call attention to something. I follow this. It's a half teaspoon of dye plus 1 teaspoon hot water. You're going to mix that up. You need to add water before you add anything, and that's with all mixing, right? Water activates this stuff. The only time I don't mix it with water is with what we just did with shaving cream. That's it. If I'm mixing acetone, if I'm mixing denatured alcohol, if I'm mixing Floetrol, if I'm mixing lotion, anything, I'm going to use a little bit of water first. And you want that to be really hot. When it says hot water, that doesn't mean like hot water out of your tap. What I do is I fill up a shot glass with a little bit of water, and I put that in the microwave for like 30 seconds. I watch it, and just when I see the first little bubbles of like it's starting to boil, I go ahead and stop it and pull it out. You know, I don't want it to be boiling, but I want it like right there at the verge of boiling. Okay, and then again, this is half teaspoon dye per 4 ounces of Floetrol. Okay, if you need to do more Floetrol, you just add more to that. And again, this is ratios. So if you want to make that 8 ounces, obviously it's 1 teaspoon of dye. If you want to make it 6 ounces, it would be a half plus a quarter. It would be 3/4 of a teaspoon, and then 6 ounces. Remember that, because we're gonna be doing something like that. I'll explain that in a second. And the last part of this, it says plus 3 to 4 drops of silicone oil. Now, if you're going to be doing a cell bed, if you want to create cells, and if you don't know what cells are, we can do another video on that later. Then by all means, mix in the 3 to 4 drops of silicone oil. However, what I'm doing is a blossom bed. I don't want to create cells. I'm not going to add any silicone. Also, if you want to do chameleon cells are basically where you control where the cells form, and you do that by dipping your like some kind of poker into silicone and then into the bed. You do not want to put silicone in the mixture. You want to add it afterwards. So again, just a heads up when you're using this 3 to 4 drops of silicone oil doesn't apply unless you're wanting to make cells from the beginning. All right, got it? Okay. All right, so we're gonna do silica or Floetrol mixing. First thing, like I said, we need hot water. Okay. Here's my shot glass. I will be right back. I'm gonna go fill this with water and heat it up, and then I will return. And you can probably still hear me, and that's okay. All right. Like I said, the way I do it is I got that little quick. You push it and it does 30 seconds right on the microwave, and it's usually ready in about 20 seconds. Okay, so we're gonna be doing 2 colors. Okay, I do these with up to 3 colors. You can do more than that, but I usually do 2 or 3 colors at the most. I know from experience with this pie tray, okay, you need 12 ounces minimum of Floetrol. If you do less than that, the bed will be too shallow and it will bottom out, and you'll get spots that don't take dye because you've contacted the bottom of the pan instead of just sitting on the Floetrol. You need at least 12 ounces, okay? Remember I told you the thing? I was like, that's for 4 ounces. We're doing 2 colors. I need 12 ounces, so 6 ounces, 6 ounces. Okay. So what did it say? It said half a teaspoon of dye plus 1 teaspoon hot water. Okay. I'm going to do 3/4 of a teaspoon, so I need 1.5 teaspoons of hot water. All right. How you measure the hot water is up to you. I've done this for a long time. The numbers on this have worn out because I've used it so much. I only use it for water. And I just know from experience that one of these is essentially like 1.5 is 1 teaspoon. Yeah, so essentially, if 1.5 is 1 teaspoon, I probably just do 2 of them, and that should be enough water. I might do like 2.25. This water thing's not like an exact science either. You know, you don't want too much water because then it'll get it'll get too watery, right? But you're just trying to activate the dye basically. It's not rocket surgery. She just gave me another look like, oh, you're so clever. Not really. She's kind of like, yeah, nice dad joke. Alright, so because I'm using 3/4 of a teaspoon, right? This is 1/4 teaspoon, okay? So I do that to my advantage, and I'm going to mix some colors. I want to make a yellow, but I want it to be kind of neon, but not pure neon. So I'm going to take basically like 1 teaspoon of dandelion and like 2 teaspoons or 2/4 teaspoons, whatever, of neon. So it's going to be predominantly neon, but the dandelion will kind of drown it out and make it more of a I don't know what to call it, like a mustard yellow. Dandelion is kind of a brownish yellow. It looks like a dandelion. There you go. But the neon one is like really bright neon. Okay, so 1/4 teaspoon going in. Wipe the thing, because now I'm switching to another color. Now I'm going to neon lemon zest. One, two, and just kind of swish it around, get it mixed up with the water real good. Try to get all the clumps out. That's why it really is important to get this like piping hot, right? And while your water's hot, I would say do both colors right now before you start worrying about adding Floetrol, because this is the part that you're going to get kind of everything dissolved into this water. You can, and then it can kind of sit and wait for the Floetrol. It doesn't have to be done right away. But as that water's cooling off, this will become less effective. Like I said, just try to get all the clumps out. That one should be good. This I'm going to do green. And again, I'm going to do kind of a neon green. And what I've got here is I've got well, neon key lime and then shamrock. I'm basically going to do the same thing. I'm going to do 1 shamrock, 2 neons. Okay. And again, where's my little squirter thing? I misplaced it. There it is. Do the same thing. I'm going to do like 2 1/4 of these squirters. I'm kind of off the screen. You can't really see what I'm doing here. Sorry about that. Wasn't thinking about that while I'm doing it. Oh, and that reminds me, I didn't want to use... I'll get back to that in a second. Get carried away. I don't want to use my actual turntable when I'm doing this, so you guys are looking at my turntable, but I'm going to move that out of the way. Because again, unless I'm actually needing the turntable to be like physically moving, why use it? Why not? Especially if I'm doing something that could make a mess. And like I said, the turntable has electronics in it. I do not want to mess it up. Again, I know I'm off the screen doing this, and I'm sorry about that. Essentially, like I said, I'm just doing what I said. I did 2 of these neon key lime, 1 of these shamrock. Just try to get a level teaspoon thing when you're doing it too. Not short either. See, you know, the water is already starting to cool off on this one, and it's clumping a little more, but it's still pretty hot, so it's working itself out. By the way, I haven't really dyed disc in a while. I don't know if anybody saw, I did another live stream of spin dyeing a while back, and that was the last time I dyed any discs. I just don't, it's so weird to me because nowadays I don't really even think about it. I just, if I feel like dyeing some discs every once in a while, I will, but it used to be every single day. It was my little side hustle where like people place custom orders, and I had people that had deadlines, and like I need this for my boyfriend's birthday, I need this for my friend's wedding, blah blah blah. Like everybody had, it was usually some kind of gift for somebody, so they were in a hurry to get it. Or even if it wasn't a gift, some guy was like, I need these for my upcoming tournament, I gotta have them to me by then. So it got kind of stressful. I think that's part of the reason why I got out of it, because it gets to the point where, a couple reasons. This is art, and sometimes I spend a lot of time on it, I spend a lot of effort on it, and I'm really proud of it. And people are like, bro, $50 is a lot for a disc. And I'm like, I want to charge you $250 because of all the time I spent on it, but people are only going to pay so much for a frisbee, you know, is what it is. Okay, from here, actually, I'm going to use this one. We're going to add the Floetrol. Okay, and again, hang on. Let me get to where you guys can see what I'm doing. I forgot that I was going to move this stuff around and I haven't. Because again, I don't need the turntable. So move this back out of the way. Bring in, this is the Lazy Susan. That's what I'll do when we get ready for it. And I'll put that on there, right? But here's my, I got yellow and I got green, okay? Then I'm going to use this guy. By the way, I have these measuring cups, right? I use them for disc dyeing, okay? I told you this stuff is toxic. If you use a container for disc dyeing, don't say I can wash it out and I'm now going to serve my family food in it. Just don't. If you're going to use something for disc dyeing, dedicate it to disc dyeing and don't use it for anything else. Tip. Master tip. Don't kill yourself for art. All right. Now, this is how I do Floetrol, okay? This is what Floetrol is in case you guys don't know. I like this brand, Flood Floetrol, and if you don't know what this is, it's basically like a latex paint additive. They'll add this to latex paint, and it's just white. It's basically white latex paint, essentially. Because of that, there is like you need to shake it up real good because there's like it's like latex in there, so there's like stringy, clumpy stuff in there, and if you don't shake it up, especially, it'll actually like separate. You'll have like water, and then you'll have the thicker part, and you need to shake it up to mix it all together. Because if you don't, you'll get it really watery mix, and that ain't gonna work for what you're trying to do. You need consistency, consistent viscosity. Does that make sense? But the other thing you're gonna, like I said, there's gonna be like chunks and strings of like latex in there. And for that, I got this handy thing, right? It's this little strainer thing. And I'm just going to sit that. Let me move these. I'm just going to sit that on top of my little thing here, right? And so when I pour my Floetrol, I'm going to pour it through there. And again, I'm going for 6 ounces. This goes up to 8 ounces. So I'm just going to fill it up to the 6 ounce mark, pour it into the cup. And then I'm going to mix it with a handy dandy popsicle stick. There's other things you can use to mix it, but these are cheap. I throw them away when I'm done. And when I say they're cheap, I have like a 2,000 count box or something over there. It's just tons of popsicle sticks. This Floetrol stuff, on the other hand, is not real cheap. There's definitely cheaper things to use to dye discs. Shaving cream's one of them. Cheapest way to dye discs, in case you're wondering, spin dyeing. Your stuff will go the furthest that way. Acetone or denatured alcohol, both extremely cheap. You can buy it in large quantities and it'll last for a really long time. You use very little amount of actual dye when you're dyeing that way, and it just goes a long way. This, on the head, is not a great use. Neither is lotion. It doesn't go very far. However, there's certain things that you can do with this that you can't really do with any other medium. So, sacrifice for your art, right? I'm going to move this a little closer just because I'm pouring. It's got some stuff on the top. I'm going to move that out of my way. Kind of pour and then like let it settle. Get it to where you need it. It's about 4 ounces there. Yeah, it still needs quite a bit more. Sometimes I have to kind of pick this up out of there because it kind of sits down inside of it. A little bit more, but not much. It's probably good. And I will tell you like another thing that's different about the method that I'm showing you guys. I start with an empty pan, okay? If you're doing a cell bed, you'll probably pour a little bit of just blank white Floetrol in there before you start, and you'll let the other colors kind of sit on top of it. And they'll actually might sink beneath it, but then whenever your cells develop, it'll come up through the white. That's just kind of one of the things you do. This method does not work that way, and you'll see why once we start doing it. It literally cannot be done that way. You have to start with a blank pan, otherwise it will not work. I'm just gonna set paper towel here so I can set that little strainer down. Okay, go ahead and grab my yellow first. Grab me a popsicle stick. I'm just gonna pour this in there. And I kind of scrape it out and get it all in there. It does like to stick to this bottom and the sides and stuff. And you won't be able to get like every last drop or anything, but just get as much of it as you can in there. Okay. And then just mix it up. And when you're mixing it, like, it takes a minute. You really gotta like make sure it all. You don't want to see any white. And you don't want to see any like striations or anything. You want a good, complete, like, I don't know what word I'm trying to use there. You just want a consistent color throughout the whole mixture. Okay, take this popsicle stick, throw it away. There's my yellow. Um, if you're going to mix this, like, if you're gonna do like dyes often, I've got some like I don't know, I guess you call them like condiment bottle, like ketchup type bottles, and I'll fill them up with these. But I still always mix them like this. It's easier to mix them this way and then pour it into the bottle than it is to try to fill up the bottle and then mix it by shaking. You'll wear your arms out, dude. And it just doesn't work as good as just mixing it with like that. I'm telling you from experience. Trust me. Same thing with lotion. Like you'll wear yourself out trying to mix them in the bottles. Just mix them in a cup, pour the cup into the bottle. Best way to do it. Okay, I need 6 more ounces. This one will be for the green. It's a little bit harder to see it now that it kind of stuck to the sides and stuff, but you can still tell like where the level is. I'll also tell you from experience that Floetrol is probably the messiest form of disc dyeing I've done. But as I was saying earlier, there's certain things that you just can't do any other way. I will tell you that the method that I'm doing tonight, the way I do it, you need to do it with Floetrol. You can accomplish a very similar effect by using lotion. The first way I ever did blossoms was with lotion. You can do it with glue beds too, but each one of them is just a little different. I mean, the mediums produce something a little different. What I can do with Floetrol is I can get a lot more rings a lot closer together than I can with lotion. And if you go look at my Instagram or something, like I said, I'll tag that differences doing it video where I did my method there as well. And I do a few different ones because we're only going to do one tonight. And also I'm only doing a 2-color one. I usually do these with either 2 or 3 colors. You can do more colors. It's up to you. But the more colors you get, you start to lose contrast, you know. That's another thing too. You want colors of contrast. I'm doing green and yellow, and the rim of that thing is purple, so it'll pop against that purple really well. Okay. And now I got my 6 ounces here. I pour it into the green. Grab my popsicle stick. Scrapey, scrapey. Get it all in there. Tell you one thing. Now that I'm married, I just don't have the time to do this as much as I used to. I'm not just married, but like I'm really involved with the church, and just I don't have the free time that I used to have to spend disc dying like every evening and stuff like I did before. If you're single, if you don't got a whole lot of life, and you like doing art, and you like disc golf, man, this is a great outlet. It's fun to do. I've really enjoyed it over the years. Okay, mixy mixy. What you'll see here in a minute when I start doing this, my table is not perfectly level. Man, this would be so much easier and so much better if it was. If you've got a nice level surface, I'm jealous of you, okay? I'm not saying necessarily your results will be better, but the method of arriving there will definitely be a lot less stress-free, or a lot more stress-free for you. Because it stresses me out sometimes how my table is not level. It's not affecting me yet, but you'll see. That shaving cream bed, not really an issue. Spin dyeing, not really an issue. These blossom beds, oh, it's my bane. Trying to get things level. You'll see. Okay, a quick little kind of cleanup here. Got my 2 colors, yellow and green, okay? I'm going to take this stuff and kind of take this paper towel and just wipe off the mouth of this thing. That way it's not so messy when I put it away. Okay. I'm going to leave this paper towel under my little mixing cup here, just because it might still kind of run down that front face where the little pour spout is, until I get ready to completely clean it up. Alright. Just, I've done this a lot. It gets messy. Going to get like double over a paper towel here, and I'm going to have this to set my little cups on, because it's going to get messy, I promise you. You can see that there. There's my cups, my dye bed thing here. Grab me a drink of water. I'm also going to go ahead and pull that disc out of the dehydrator. It's got like 7 minutes left. I let it go for an hour, so it's dry by now. Yeah, so that's what it looks like now. You can't even really see it. It dries clear, right? It's Elmer's glue. But just make sure when you look at this that everything is completely dry. If there's any like white left, it's not going to be a good mask. I'm almost kind of wondering, because it's a white disc, it's hard for me to see if there's any like white left. Don't think so. Take it over here for a second. It might be easier to see in the shadows. I think it's okay. Let it sit right. It'll continue to dry while we're doing this too, so. Alright. I'm gonna tell you right now, like, I taught this method on Differences Doing It, and I haven't seen many people duplicate it. I don't know why, because I'm telling you, this is one of the easiest ways to get something that looks really cool. It is ridiculously easy to do this. I'm gonna like make my little floating head smaller here so you can see more of the screen. But I'm telling you, this is so simple. Anybody can do it. It's so easy and it produces really cool results. Okay. All you do, there's some white that kind of ran down into it, so I'm mixing up a little bit again. All you're gonna do is pour in the center and just alternate colors. Pour center, and the rings will push themselves out. That's it. You're just gonna make rings of circle. You call them concentric circles, whatever you want to call them. Watch. I need a whole lot. And again, that's why I got this thing sitting on a paper towel, because that color will kind of run down. And then it's crazy, but just keep pouring it right in the center. And when you start, and again, I told you, you need at least 12 ounces. When you started, it may not look like it's going well. They'll kind of roll over each other and they'll push each other out. That's fine. Until you get it to the edges, it's not going to start coming together. You're going to lose a lot of these beginning rings. And you might say, because of that, why am I wasting the color in the beginning? You can try doing it a different way. I'm not telling you you can't do it a different way. You can start with white or something and then start from there. You probably can, but the problem is that that white might still show up because it may not like push out the way you want it to. As you can see, it's not level. I'm trying to pour in the center and it moves around. So again, it's the kind of the bane of my existence whenever I'm doing this. When it gets more filled, it will kind of you can center it up again. I said I've done this a lot, and again, if you have a more level table that you're working on, it's going to make your life a lot more easier than it is on me. Yeah, as I said, really nothing to this. Make circles. If it's going to drip, try to keep it dripping in the center of that color that you're working with so it doesn't mess up your rings. If you do this with like little condiment bottles like I was talking about, might make this a little bit easier as well. I don't really have much problem doing it this way though. I mean, like I said, I basically mix the colors for the bed that I'm doing at the time. You could definitely do it the other way around and just keep colors mixed up and ready. I find that you can only store a Floetrol or a lotion mixture for so long though. So if you're dyeing every day and you're constantly going through stuff, by all means do that. But with me right now, I'm only dyeing every once in a while. It's much better for me to mix up the dyes on demand because they don't keep as long as you think. Can I tell you I'm kind of seeing the effect that like the yellow bands are going to end up being a little bit smaller than the green bands. It's not something I predicted. Sometimes you get, I don't know how else to say it, but there's like it's all these different color mixtures. They have like different densities, and so some of them want to sync more than the others do. If you get them all like kind of they're the same amount, then they'll stay nice and level. But some of them just want to sync. I have a lot of problem with a lot of different reds and pinks. They really like to sync. Blood red is a really good color that I don't have that problem with. But like your like neon cerise pink, your neon royal purple, they're terrible. They sync so bad, and the rings kind of disappear on you. And again, I could show you examples. I don't really have stuff pulled up and ready, but I've done this so many times that and just you kind of learn from experience what works and what doesn't. And I've done these color mixtures before, and I'm kind of surprised. Maybe I haven't used them together before, and I'm learning something tonight, basically. Again, I wish this was level. I'm gonna see if I can kind of shim it to get it more level. Yeah, maybe that might be better. And all I can say as far as that goes is just kind of try to get the circles, if you're dealing with the lack of it being level, try to kind of work your circles back towards the center. It's funny, I'm kind of sitting here as I'm doing this and I'm thinking about what our pastor talked about this morning. It's also my father-in-law, by the way. Um, but he preached on having faith in the unseen. Like we don't see God. We don't always know that He's going to answer our prayers, but we have to just have faith in that. And I'm sitting here going, as I'm making this design, it didn't look good in the beginning, and now it's starting to come together. It's like just have faith. It's going to work out. Of course, I've done it before, so that helps. I have seen it work before. You guys are watching this, you might be like, I don't know, man, it's not working out on my end. Well, have faith. It's not that hard. You're just making circles. And what's really going to be cool with the colors that I chose, once it's all done and everything, which I won't be able to show you that tonight because it's going to have to sit, but I use neon colors, so we'll be able to shine the black light on these things and get a really cool effect off of them. Both the green and the yellow should be really neon popping. And again, like I said, I know from experience I need a minimum of 12 ounces of Floetrol for these. Again, these are 9-inch pie pans. You buy these at Walmart or wherever. Man, that's like really bright. There's not even a light back there, by the way. That right there, eh. That's just my window. Like I've got the blinds closed. It's like super bright in the screen. I'm sorry about that. It looks like there's a light on. You can try it. Uh, She's like, I can cover with the towel, but I don't think she wants to do it because she doesn't want to be in the camera. Huh? She's like, yes, exactly. And what I will say is like you can do this with lotion. Again, you're just making concentric circles, but you're not going to get lotion to be able to do it in this way. You can't just pour it in the center and have it push itself out. Um, you can make concentric circles with lotion, and with lotion you can get a little bit different effect. It's hard to do this with Floetrol without doing a lot of rings like what I'm doing now. With lotion, you could do less rings. You could do it with Floetrol too, but it'd be a little bit more of a, you wouldn't be pouring circles in the center, it'd be more making rings quickly, you know, before they could merge together. So this is a method of doing blossoms that is kind of contingent on you're going to have a lot of rings, okay? If you don't want a lot of rings, if you want just thicker stripes and not so much Twilight Zoney looking thing there, then do the lotion method. I don't really like doing the lotion method, and the reason I don't really like doing lotion beds. I like dyeing with lotion as far as lotion painting. I don't like doing lotion beds, and it has nothing to do with the designs. You can do some amazing designs. I started off doing lotion beds after shaving cream, and then we moved to lotion. There's so many air bubbles in lotion. So many. It's so hard to get the air bubbles out. I hate dealing with that. That's why I don't do it. If you are good at getting air bubbles out, then use lotion by all means. You can do some cool designs. I know some people that are like lotion bed experts and they do amazing things. Uh, there's a company called I forget the guy's name, the dyer's name, but his company, whatever that he calls it, is called Hand Candy. He does amazing lotion beds. They're so cool, so clean, but it's just not my thing. Sorry, y'all. Getting down to like the last bit of my Floetrol here. I want to make sure and use it all though, but just kind of keep going with it. Keep pouring it till you're all out. And again, I always use a minimum of 12 ounces. You can do more. You can do 16 ounces, whatever. Um, if you do 3 colors, and obviously you would just do like 4 ounces of each. This will be the last bit of the yellow. Gonna be a pretty big green center. I might see if I can get a little bit more yellow out just to kind of balance it out because it's a really big green spot in the center now. Didn't quite evenly pour those, but I'm gonna try one of my little popsicle sticks and see how much I can scrape to get the last little bit out of there. now you've made circles. And you're like, hey man, that's cool and all, but it's not that cool. And here's the thing. This is how you do lotion beds too. This is how you do the blossom method. And like when I first learned how to do this, I was like, it was kind of one of those aha moments because I'd seen all these disc dyes over the years, and I'm like, that's really cool. How do they do that? Take this here toothpick. You can start from the center and go out, or you can start from the out and go in. And it just, I like to kind of mix it up and do both. I'm trying to think on this one. Sometimes I'll do just outs, sometimes I'll do just ins, but usually I do both. I go in and out. I'm trying to think for this one. I'm gonna go try doing just outs. So it's when I call that it's a blossom when it's ins and outs, and when it's just one or the other, maybe it's a burst. I don't know, but you'll see. Oh, get you a paper towel handy for this because you are gonna want to wipe your toothpick in between each thing because you don't want to mix the colors together. Okay, you just take it, pull some lines through it. Try to get them as straight as you can. Or if you want to do like curvy stuff and make that part of your design, by all means, play around with it. You can do some really interesting things with this. Another thing I've done is I've dipped this in silicone oil as I'm doing the things, and I call that like a distorted blossom. It looks like waves of distortion going through it. It's pretty cool. Or I think one guy called it an acid blossom, and I was like, okay, maybe that's a better name. But it definitely does an interesting effect. I wouldn't worry too much about what's going on in that center because it's really hard to kind of control that and keep that clean anyway. And I'll show you a trick when we get to the end. If you're doing this to where, I mean, we have that little glue mask right in the center of this thing, so the very center's not going to get a lot of that detail anyway. But I'll show you something that you can do to make that center cool if you've kind of muddied it up the way that this one's kind of going. It's hard. That center gets really busy. All right, I'm gonna leave it just like that. But again, you could bring them back in, and then you could kind of have like what I would call a blossom. It would be kind of look like flower petals at that point. But I'm gonna leave it like that because I think it's cool. But I'm gonna show you what I was talking about. This is a cool little trick. If you got it like this and you're like, man, that middle, it would be a lot cooler if I could do something cool in the very center of that. Take your toothpick, put it in that very center, and just move it around. Just move it around. Just move it around. Now I got a little spiral in the middle. Do something cool with it, right? A little cleanup over here. That Floetrol stuff did kind of bleed through, and again, that's why I'm using a crappy table. Like I said, if you got a nice level table, but it's a nice table, put down a sheet of plastic or something, protect your surface because Floetrol's messy. No matter how much you try to be careful with it, you end up making a mess. Okay, and that's pretty much it, guys. That's how you do a Floetrol bed. Now, air bubbles are the nemesis of dye beds, okay? It's a little bit different with shaving cream. You're almost going for that effect with shaving cream. Shaving cream is going to create a lot of little air pockets and stuff anyway. It kind of creates randomness, right? But with Floetrol, with lotion, with glue beds, you want solid contact with the surface of that disc, and you don't want any air bubbles. There's air bubbles in the Floetrol mix, but then you can also trap the air bubbles when you're putting the disc into the bed. So the first thing you want to do is try to get the air bubbles out of this. Easiest way to do that, hit it with some heat. Don't go too crazy because you'll cause like cells to form. Even though there's no silicone oil in this, you will kind of cause some cells to form. You can already kind of see like little dots and stuff come up. It's just the nature of Floetrol. That's why it's the medium to use if you're going to try to create cells. You can create cells with other things. It's just a lot harder to do. It's really easy with Floetrol because it kind of naturally does that anyway. And you add some silicone to it, it makes everything slippery and makes cells. If you don't know what cells are, Google search it. I don't know. There's lots of examples because, to be honest with you, it's probably the most popular method of disc dyeing. Okay, heat. You obviously don't have to have something like this. You can just use like a little butane torch or little cooking torch thing. I use this just because when I was professionally disc dyeing, I did this a lot, and I was going through the little butane ones constantly, and I just said, you know what? I'm just gonna get me a heavy duty one. Again, I'm not trying to create cells. I'm just trying to pop air bubbles. Just kind of lightly adding some heat to the surface, hoping any air bubbles pop. Not seeing a lot of bubbles, so I think we're good. Okay. Now the fun part, placing the disc. So, normally, when it's not what am I trying to say, something that really needs to be centered, you kind of just roll the disc in there. You kind of put one end in and not like shove it in, but lightly touch down one end and just kind of roll it in there. However, with this, I do want to get the center as lined up as possible. So I'm going to kind of put the center in real slowly and just kind of let it. I, I don't I don't really know how to explain this. I'm not the best person at explaining like how I do things, but just be real slow and methodical with it. Trying to, if you do it fast, you're gonna trap air bubbles. Um, you do still kind of roll it, but again, I'm not gonna do like hardcore one side to the other. I may even kind of put pressure on the. Well, I'm afraid of doing that because I'm afraid it's gonna pop out. Okay, so maybe I am gonna roll it a little bit. We'll see. This is one thing where like the clear discs are kind of nice because you can actually see like the air bubbles if they're kind of forming. It's kind of nice when you have it wrapped in not vinyl the way that I do because you can kind of use that as handles. Real gently just kind of push it in there, not pushing hard, but just trying to make sure it gets up around the edges. And that's it. I'm literally just gonna let it sit right there. Again, if I was trying to expedite the process, I could throw it in the dehydrator. Actually, I probably can. At 7:30, I probably let it go about an hour in my dehydrator at about, I do it at about 105, 110 degrees. Then I'll let it sit for about an hour. Then I'll pop it for like another, well, let it sit for like 30 minutes, then like another hour. So grand total like 2.5 hours sit. It'll be done by like 10 o'clock. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that. And then I can wash it off tonight and it'll be dyed. Be real careful when you transport it. You want to try to not let it slosh around much. Okay, let it go for an hour. Then when that's done, I'll let it kind of just mellow for about 30 minutes. I'll go for another hour. If you are going to use the dehydrator, this is just a word to the wise on how you do this stuff. How do I put that? Um, like I said, I let it sit with no heat for a little while, and then I hit it again with heat. The main thing I would say is like however long you're gonna let it sit with heat and then no heat, um, pull it and wash it off right after the heat cycle. That way, everything's still kind of warm and viscous, and you're not trying to pull like the Floetrol when it dries out basically turns to like latex, and you'll be pulling like stringy stuff off and everything. So if it's warm, it makes it a lot easier to just kind of scrape it off. I'll use like a little credit card type thing and just scrape it off. I literally always use my old PDGA cards. See, Chef Ninja Brownlow. But anyway, that's it, man. We're dying discs. I'll post some pictures, obviously, on Instagram whenever these are done. It'll be on Instagram and Facebook, and whenever they're done, I'll create like a thumbnail for this video so that you'll see the finished product of those discs whenever they're done dyeing. So there you go. We did a shaving cream spiral and a Floetrol blossom, and as you saw before, I did a spin dye, which was an off-center spin dye. I can show you guys a lot of different styles. If you guys are interested in seeing anything else, there's something specific, send me a message on Instagram, send me a message on Facebook, send me a comment on one of my videos. I will show more disc dyeing 101, whatever you want to learn. I can probably teach just about any style because I've dabbled in all of it. Um, I didn't do any like stencil work, but I can do